1. Okay, so this story goes back about 7 years. I was in a scouting trip with one terrible kid. For the sake of privacy, we'll call him Stitches, as he was the biggest snitch of all time. Now, Stitches, while also being a huge narc, also had a history of complete apathy and slight psychopathy. While he was in the Cub Scouts, he straight up tackled the kid and choked him until he was unconscious, because the kid asked him to lighten up and have fun. That cub never came back to the pack after that, and I completely understand why. Anyways, I was going on one of my first camping trips with the troop. It was about my third or fourth time, and I was starting to get the routine of camping down pat. Now, there were rules with my troop about sleeping in tents. One, that everyone had to have a tent buddy, meaning both you and the buddy had to set it up, sleep in it, keep it clean, and take it down. In other words, pretty standard stuff to help the scouts bond with each other, and it definitely worked. I'm still great friends with some of the kids I met in the trip, but for this trip I had the misfortune of being paired with Stitches, since I missed a meeting because I was sick, and I got paired with him since no one chose him. We drove over to the site and got straight to work setting everything up. One pair needed help setting up their tents, so I explained to Stitches that I was going to help them out, and he should get started without me since we're slowly losing daylight. Our scoutmaster also had a rule that we weren't allowed to start a campfire until after all the tents were set up, and it was going to be a cold night, so I thought I would help speed up the process. I finished helping those two, and I came back to see the tent still in the bag. Stitches hadn't even touched the damn thing. When I asked him why, he complained that I wasn't following the rules, to which he was right, but that meant that I had to set up the tent in the dark. Notice how I said I and not we, because he didn't help at all. Way to be a hypocrite, but whatever. I needed a place to sleep, so I wasn't going to be petty like him. Now, at this campsite, there was a hiking trail that led to an abandoned railroad. We hiked it the next day at the perfect time, so we'd get back to the site right in time for dinner. On the hike, I found a rail spike on the ground, and I thought it would be a good souvenir to take home. I just moved, so I have no clue where it is, but I do still have it somewhere. Anyways, we got back to the hike and ate our food. That night we made sure to have our tents cleaned out so we can leave early in the morning. I had left the rail spike in the tent and forgot to pack it up in my bag and put it in the car. The car was somewhat far away, so when I found it, I just left it there. Stitches didn't like that. When we were heading to sleep, Stitches found it, and the following conversation ensued.
What's this?
It's a rail spike I found on the trail. Pretty cool, right?
Why didn't you pack it up?
Now, I had and still do have a dark sense of humor, so I cracked the joke. Well, if a critter gets in the tent, I can stab it, and we'll have a nice breakfast in the morning. Stitches fell silent and avoided me the next day, meaning I had to take the tent down myself. We had a meeting the day after we got home from the trip, and Stitches was nowhere to be seen. My dad explained that he got a nasty email from Stitch's dad about the remark I'd made, and that his son didn't feel comfortable in any environment with me. I was shocked and near the point of tears, as I thought I could have gotten kicked out the trip, and apparently he tried to make that happen. The scoutmaster turned that down since he knew me, and knew that I was way too much of a wuss to do anything of the sort. I apologized profusely to the kid at the next meeting I saw him, at which was a rifle shooting class. Ah yes, let 10-year-olds have at machines literally made for killing. Stitches and his father were both uncomfortable at the sight of me having a gun, which would be normal if it weren't for the fact that they were comfortable with everyone else. They tried to make the instructor kick me out of the class, claiming that I was a psychopath. Look who's talking, but to no avail. I ended up being quite the sharpshooter, and the instructor even let me use his handgun. I was the only kid that got to try it out, and it was pretty cool, although I would never hand a person younger than 25 a loaded handgun if I were an instructor. What's funny is that Stitch's father was kicked out of the troop for literally trying to stage a coup and become the scoutmaster. I ran into Stitches and his dad a few times as they started their own troop, and showed up to big scouting events. Stitches seems to have grown up a bit. He even apologized to me once when I ran into him at a scouting summer camp. His dad was still giving me and my troop looks though. Before I go, I'd like to give a little more background. Stitch's parents were both awful. His mom was a textbook Karen, and his dad was an atheist IT guy. Now, I have no problem with atheists, seeing as I kind of am one, And I have no problem with IT people, but it's like the difference between a nice guy and a nice guy. Stitches was also forced into homeschool, meaning he basically had no interaction with kids his age, outside of scouting, so this was like his first time actually being social. He has since learned better, and from what I've heard, he's going to a good college, and no longer a complete psychopath. 2. I just moved into an apartment last week. So far, everyone I have met in passing has been nice. No one has been too loud at unreasonable hours, arguing with each other, stealing parking spaces, and other typical shared space craziness. Yet, at least, only been here a week. I did, however, encounter a Mama Karen and her 6-year-old son. My apartment is one of those half-in-the-ground units, with 2 other floors on top. As such, the top of my patio wall is level to the walking path. If I have my blinds open, you can easily see into my living room and kitchen. This honestly doesn't bother me. The weather is finally nice here, so after work yesterday, I opened my patio sliding door and blinds to let the cooler air in while playing some Minecraft. After a while, I could hear a couple of women talking outside a few units down, just general chit-chat. I also heard a smaller kid running around messing with the gravel along the pathways, and generally just being a bored kid while Mommy talked with her friend. Really no big deal at all. Then it happened. I heard one of the women call for the kid. Jason! Jason! Jason, get over here! Jason! I looked up to see the kid standing on the path next to my unit, transfixed on the TV. Uh-oh. He didn't answer quick enough. Mama Karen came stomping over to him and jerked his arm to force him to look at her, while she yelled in his face about answering her and to not watch TV, especially someone else's. I thought the way she was acting was overkill, but let it be. He's not my kid, and I'm not a parent at all. Just my fur babies, 2 cats. I did pay attention, for if things got worse to jump in, but didn't stare. I only looked over when she called out to me to apologize for her son. Note not for her behavior, I said it was fine. Mama Karen took him back over to her friend and they continued talking. Eventually, the kid started playing around near them again. Soon he was back over at my patio looking in, watching me play. Soon after that, I hear Mama Karen yell at him again. This time he flinched. Hard, it broke my heart to see the effects of abuse in action. And was just frozen staring at her. This time I jumped up and went to my patio door. She was already at him by then and yelling at him again. I tried to interject to say I truly don't mind that he was watching me play. This is where the Karen aspect comes in. She turned to me, sickly sweet, the demon gone for the moment, and kindly explained that dear Jason was grounded and not allowed to even look at a TV. I said a bummer dude to him in sympathy. She didn't like that I addressed him and not her. I also don't think she liked that I showed him sympathy instead of instantly taking her side. Even though I had no idea why he was punished in the first place, I wouldn't doubt if it was some asinine, non-existent reason on her part, or her being bothered by normal child behaviors. She then asked me something that blew my mind. Can you please shut off your TV when we're out here? We're usually out here for some outside time for about an hour a day. Or can you just shut your window and blinds? Not gonna lie, the people pleaser I've been raised to be almost said, oh sure, no problem, and was going to do it. Then I stopped myself thinking, what? Telling me what to do in my house? I'm trying to have a shinier spine, so I told her, no, I won't. Oh boy, that sure as hell is her trigger word. I thought she was going to reach in and jerk me around and yell at me like I was her child. The look was so instantly pissed off. She again explained the situation, fully expecting me to cooperate this time. She laid out her case. She made the demand again. Not a vote question this time. I again told her no. I came home to relax, and this is how I do it. She asked me if I have kids. Oh. I'm solidly child-free, and according to the laws of parenting, my thoughts and opinions are completely and instantly invalid unless I pop out at least one entirely, mostly full-term crotch spawn. I told her no, and she smirked. I thought so. I was ready for a lecture on how to handle kids properly or something, but she just jerked her son away back toward the other woman, who I assumed was still there. She said something as she went, but I didn't really hear it. So I don't know if it was to me, her son, or her friend. maybe even grumbling to herself. I hadn't seen those two before yesterday, but apparently they are out there for at least 1 hour daily around that time. There's a pool, a few barbecue pits, and a grassy area outside my unit, in between the surrounding units and buildings. I get to see all the good doggos walk by, and it makes my day. I really hope she doesn't cause issues for me. I just want to live there and not be bothered. I'm not going to help her parent her child. No one else in the world should be expected to accept her. I just don't get how she thinks she can ask a total stranger to turn off the TV in their home because she's punishing her child and hers. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. I'm proud of myself for standing my ground. As brief as the encounter was, I worry for the kid, though. So, a small development. I called CPS. I thought about it a lot since posting yesterday. I even consulted a few people I know who have been on both sides, reporting and being reported, and telling them the story and hearing their experiences and advice. I decided to go ahead and do it. What really did it for me was that while the kid may have done something to earn the grounding, and maybe the mom had a really bad millennia that exploited in that moment. Her physically jerking him around, yelling in his face, and especially his reactions pushed me to do this for his benefit. I did it anonymously, and don't know what exact unit she's in. I was kind of surprised that I talked to an actual person. At first, she kind of has the tone of just taking a general complaint. As soon as I explained the kid's reactions, especially being completely nonverbal when being yelled at, and shook, she took more interest. I was warned that this call didn't guarantee an investigation, also that it could take time to start and even more time to conclude, depending on various factors, me not knowing the exact unit number being one of them. So far, I haven't seen Mama Karen or the kid today to play spy in that part, and I'm afraid to ask around in case someone gives her a heads up. If she happens to bother me more, I'll tell the front office. For now, because I just moved in, I don't want to make it seem like I'm going to be that strict, nosy neighbor that reports every little thing, even if a legitimate worry in this case. I will get an outdoor cam and a paycheck or two. I just moved, I'm a broke bitch. 3. In the mood of the spooky season, I bought a t-shirt from a very risque sex/souvenir shop that says, "Let's summon demons." As all these kids are trying to summon a demon, as one of the friends is laying on a pentagram. It's dark for some people, I get it, but it's Halloween season, so I didn't care. I just moved to this area, and anything that I wear that's too exposing or too risque, I get stared down. I'm a pretty big girl, so normally they just look in disgust, but go back to what they were doing, but not yesterday. My fiancé and I were in the mall near my new apartment. I was wearing my shirt, while my fiancé was wearing his usual polo and jeans. As we were in the mall, I got my fair share of WTF is she wearing looks from employees. I wanted to go to a well-known body wash place to buy hand soap. My fiancé knows how long I could possibly take, so he left to go to a game shop. While I'm in the store, I find the hand soap and start reading which one is which. As I'm looking, I see maybe 4 more people come into this empty store, a mom and daughter. I only know that because of the rest of the story, and 2 older women who I assume to be aunt and grandmother. The daughter was about 17-ish. She runs directly to the body wash set behind me on the display table. I find my soap and put it in the bag and walk to the other side of the store. Then I hear, "Excuse me?" I look behind and it's the daughter. "Oh, my bad, you don't work here. I thought you were stocking the store." I was in no way dressed like the employees, but whatever. "Yeah, sorry, no, I don't work here. But since I love this store, I can probably help you." She then asked me for a certain scent, and since I could see it from where I was standing, I showed her. She looked at my shirt and started asking me where she could buy one and blah blah blah. I gave her all the details and even told her where the store was in the mall. She started laughing about how I must know the mall very well. I guess her mom heard her talking and walked towards us.
"Come on, daughter. I found your scent."
Ian grabs the daughter's arm. "Wait, Mom, look at her shirt, I really want one. It's so cool." I smile and look at the mom. As she reads my shirt, her face starts to turn into a look of disgust. Like if she's just seen roadkill splattered on her windshield. It was very awkward. She didn't even try to hide it. Now, this is not word for word, but this is basically what happened.
"No, you don't need a Satan-worshipping shirt,"
She grabs her daughter. Daughter pulls back. No, Mom, I'm talking. I just stand there confused.
Listen, I know that it's Halloween, but my sweet baby does not need to see this Satan-worshipping shit when we're going to the mall. What's wrong with you? Are you possessed?
Listen, I don't care if you like it. And girl, if you want the shirt, you can afford it without your mom being in the way. I start to walk away. The EM starts to follow me around the entire store, calling me a Satanist. And racial slurs as I'm black. And saying how my kind shouldn't be welcomed at my college. I go to a well-known private Catholic university nearby. She knows because my keychain is hanging out of my pocket that says the school. She starts yelling and asking for my name so she could call my school. As a black woman in this already racist city, I already tried my best to finish my shopping and leave. None of the workers helped me. I checked out with her still behind me yelling. I get done and she yells that I'm stealing and that the police need to be called. Luckily, the workers didn't do it. She continued to block me from leaving the store. She grabbed my arm, trying to drag me back into the store, and I slap her in the face. EM starts crying, her daughter grabs her, and she looks at me with the most apologetic look. My fiancé was standing outside the door, thank God, and grabbed my hand and rushed me to the food court to get me to calm down. I thought that was the end, but nope. EM must have literally called store security, as they were looking for me around the mall. They eventually found me. Security searches my bags and looked at the receipts. Then they asked me about why I smacked her. I told them I can explain everything. EM is yelling at the security guards, uttering more racial slurs. Sum up the rest, basically I got set free. EM was let go without security calling the police or letting me figure out who she was, because I wanted to press charges. I can't believe this even happened over a shirt. I'm really pissed about the whole thing. My fiancé has been calming me down. My university takes things like this very seriously. They are currently doing an investigation of their own to find out who the lady was, and why the mall didn't do anything to really help me, and to clear up why my university is involved. A couple years ago, a black guy was basically hunted down from a local convenience store all the way back to campus. They were bothering him at the store and chased him back, calling him names and threatening him. Parents and students asked what the school was going to do, so they made up a little task force of law people to help students figure out the green light for situations that needed to be dealt with by the law. The task force holds people from the school's law team and campus police. I spoke with the school's lawyer. They said I definitely have a case, and that she is willing to help me with it. She said that I have a meeting with them tomorrow, and that all I need to do is work with them. The day after I posted this, I had a meeting with the lawyer, the president of my school, and public safety of my school. Basically a police force for the school. As we talked about the full situation, my school is not upset about the shirt. They could care less, the president said. But he was worried about my safety, and getting the video was the first priority from the school. My school was trying to figure out a way to get the video without causing any more issues. We talked about what I wanted from the outcome of this. I said that I just want the EM to have a record of assault or something, and the mall security should be fired. If anything else happens, then that's even better. We talked some more and then I left. That Friday morning, I got a call from my school telling me to come to the school. For this next part, I promise you all this is exactly how this second meeting played out. I got in the room, and there were 4 public safety officers, the lawyer, the president. I sat down, and they played a voice recording for me. The EM called my school. The only reason they knew it was about the situation was because EM was complaining about my flaming red hair and tattoo, saying I harassed her daughter and her in the mall. The call kinda goes as follows. The public safety officer introduces himself and gives his name. How may I help you?
Hi, I'd like to speak to someone who handles students.
I need more information than that. She gives them all name and the date.
A student,
And she basically goes into detail about what my hair and tattoo looks like.
harassed my daughter and I.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I don't know that student, sadly. It's past office hours for the university offices. I can connect you to my supervisor. From there, the PSO transfers her to the head public safety officer. Hello, this is the head public safety officer. What is it about a student harassing you? Where did this take place? Can you identify the students? We do not allow our students to act up on or off campus.
She looks like this, with this tattoo, about 6 feet tall.
From there, the HPSO takes the description down and asks her for her name so they can call her back when the offices open up. She actually gave them her name. This happened late in the evening after my first meeting. The only reason why they found this out a day later is due to the Dean of Students not getting the note until Friday morning. He notified the president, and everyone else then notified me. We have her name because she thought she could get me in trouble. I feel like I'm losing my mind due to the issue. I've told my parents and friends. They support me, but are really concerned for how the mall handled it. I'm safe, but I'm still very worked up over it. 4. Prologue. I took some friends out to eat. One Marcus was a tanned individual, being from Mexico. His first language is Spanish. This will come into play a little later. Friend 2 was a more fair-skinned individual, shy and quiet. Thus she won't be participating much, who will be referred to as Julia. Now let's begin. As stated above, I took some friends out to eat. Yeah, how irresponsible of me. We are seated in a booth where a waitress comes by to hand us the menus. We discuss what we think looks good, then in walks EP. She, along with her baby, are seated in the booth across from us. Here's where it starts to get interesting. Marcus gets a call from his mother about something. I can't bother to remember. The EP apparently overhears a conversation and under her breath says something about Mexicans, while my friend didn't notice. I do, but paid no mind. Julia and I chat about some stupid video game or something like that, while Marcus continues to talk to his mother. Till he eventually, after some very embarrassing things were done and or said, hung up. The mother, now very frustrated, gets up, walks over to him, and gives him an earful about,
"You're in America, speak English,"
and
"You and your kind should just go back to your own country."
The three of us just stare at her blankly, flabbergasted at the situation that has occurred. Quickly a smile grows ear to ear on my face, and I quickly text Marcus to only speak in Spanish. He erects a shit-eating grin, and we begin to confront her in Spanish. We say, still in Spanish, "Excuse me?"
"See, this is the issue with you people. Come to my country and steal my jobs."
Yes, my friends, you heard that correctly. Ma'am, I have no idea what you're talking about. She's now red in the face.
"What? You were speaking English just a minute ago."
"No, ma'am, you must have hallucinated that. You were just delusional, I guess."
"Speak English, damn it! English."
New character unlocked. Manager. Manager, now aware of the disaster that has become apparent, comes over to assess the situation. "Excuse, is there a problem here?" I open my mouth to speak, but EP opens hers first.
"Yes, these foreigners are speaking Spanish in my country. You need to tell them to speak English or leave."
The manager looks at us. "Miss, we were enjoying ourselves until this lady came out of nowhere and starts attacking us." Best part. "Ma'am, you're in a Mexican restaurant. Now please leave these customers alone or leave the establishment." The manager apologizes and leaves. EP sits down. "You thought we were done, didn't you?" I wink at Marcus and we start speaking in Spanish loudly to mock the EP. Admittedly, not the most mature thing to do, but hey, we're just a bunch of dumb teenagers, well, apart from Julia, who of the three of us has the most common sense and tries to get us to stop. We ignore and continue to mock EP until she gets up and confronts us again.
"This is the issue with people. Everybody defends you so you can do whatever you want. You damn Mexicans are ruining America. Why can't you just speak English like good citizens?"
I smile. "Ma'am, I would first like to say I'm Asian, not Mexican. For context, I'm tanned, and for some reason I'm often mistaken to be Hispanic. Secondly, I would like to correct you. So what is your issue again? In English, please?"
"Are you stupid or something? I just said my issue. It's you damn Mexicans ruining America."
As I said, in English, not Spanish.
"Let me speak, you are rude."
I said no Spanish.
"What do you mean?"
You do realize that the word America is technically Spanish, right? EP's jaw drops. By this point, nearby tables and booths are giggling. EP quickly regains composure and says,
"You need to respect your elders."
"No, respect is not simply given out, it is earned. Oh yeah, regarding your issue with Spanish, are you aware that only 8.7% of Americans are self-identified as having English origins, while a greater 18.3% is made up of Hispanics?" EP sputters silently. I and Marcus continue to throw facts at her. My friends and I go to the top school in our state. Yeah, we're nerds, deal with it. Until she decides she's had enough and changes the subject. At this point, my group and a couple of tables nearby are struggling to hold in laughter. In a sudden burst of thought, EP turns to Julia. Hey, sweetie, are these mean boys forcing you to be here? She's attempting to attack me and Marcus, accusing us of things to tarnish our names to the tables nearby, just for the attempt to be unsuccessful. No, why would they? I think they're going to try to do bad things to you. Come with me, sweetie. Julia says in Spanish, You've already embarrassed yourself enough today. Go sit down. Context, Julia's parents are originally from Spain. EP turns white, then back to red, then screams. You're one of those illegals too! Now I'm slightly annoyed. Then ding, an idea. Ma'am, if you're going to speak on the legality of the situation, are you aware that you are currently doing something technically illegal? What are you talking about? You know there's currently a global pandemic and, you're not wearing a mask. Yeah, so I shouldn't be made to wear a piece of cloth. Didn't know that clothes aren't a piece of cloth. You do know there is a fine, right? How about I call the police and see what they say? She suddenly turns white, grabs her baby and leaves. She didn't even get to order anything. 5. I admit this is mostly a rant, but I'd love to hear your opinions. There's a certain slacker coworker that affects my productivity, and it's a pain in the ass. I actually joined the company 2 years ago to cover for her maternity leave. My boss was happy with my work, so I ended up being hired permanently, with different responsibilities, but I do share many of them with this woman. There have been several issues since she came back to the office. Basically, that she is a great slacker and uses manipulation to do as little as possible, and tries to get others to do her job. When I was first hired, I had absolutely no guidance from her, despite she was supposed to be working from home until the week before, and figured things out on my own, and turns out I did things more efficiently, so now the boss has higher expectations regarding our job. It's a long story, and I'll try not to go into too much detail. Before giving birth, she spent several months working from home, but it was clear she was doing nothing. Even the boss and co-workers talked as if she had been away for many months before that work-from-home period. When she came back, I helped her as much as possible, trying to be understanding, as I knew she was struggling with a new baby. But I was appalled to discover she didn't know how to do many things and used excuses to get out of things. Like pretending that the computer or software didn't work when really it's just she didn't know how they worked. She still does this from time to time, and tried to delegate things to me and others, despite not being anyone's boss. After a while, though I tried to be nice in the beginning, I was forced to make it clear that I wouldn't do her tasks. That's when she started a smear campaign against me, resorted to bullying, saying I'm a bad coworker and team worker, and many other unpleasant moments. A few months later, I'd managed to ignore her, not being offended by any attacks, but keeping things professional and sticking to my tasks. I had my job to do, and genuinely couldn't be bothered by her incompetence or office drama. After all, that's ultimately the boss's problem. Working from home during the pandemic was actually the best that could happen for me in terms of work dynamics. And regarding this coworker, I don't have to deal with her office drama. She's the typical gossiper and manipulator. And it's easier to make clear how much work you've done to actually gain visibility. It's also painfully obvious when someone's not working. However, this coworker still tries to get away with not doing tasks, blatantly lying if necessary, like saying she's working on something that doesn't exist. She's also not too smart and doesn't know her way around technology much, so I've caught her red-handed a couple times, taking credit for my work, for example. Taking credit on a shared Excel document. When it's online and you can actually see who edited it, she didn't know this. So I've obviously called her out on this with a screenshot of the timestamp when I made the changes. I guess when it's not my responsibility and it's separate tasks, I couldn't care less. But when she doesn't collaborate with me, I end up doing the work myself, because I need it in order to continue with my tasks, although I do try to make it clear who did it. Yet my boss still doesn't notice how many times and doesn't realize doing her tasks puts a toll in my workload. I wouldn't be surprised if she lied many times on private conversations with our boss, taking credit for a lot more than I'm aware of. In the beginning of the pandemic, schools and nursery homes were closed, but now they've been open for a while. This coworker, however, doesn't take her 2-year-old to any type of nursery home, and has never, and stays with the baby at home while she works, now claiming she's scared of the virus, when I'm convinced it's just so she doesn't have to spend the money. I know that she and her husband are not well money-wise, but that isn't an excuse to act like she does. Her kid sometimes shows up during Zoom calls and demands her mom's attention, as you'd expect from a small toddler, of course. Today she had no problem with sitting the baby on her lap during the entire conference, and even acted as if it were cute. I find it quite rude to have to stare at a small child in the middle of a work video conference with external business partners, and I think it shows a lack of respect for our employer. There were some months when this was understandable and bosses were flexible, of course. But now I think she's just taking advantage of the whole situation. It's obvious that she's away from her desk for long periods of time during the day. Doesn't check the inbox. We share several inboxes that we're supposed to check frequently and manage. But of course, that's also something that I end up having to do on my own. And that her work is sloppy. I try not to worry about what isn't under my control, but things are getting worse lately. As a part of the same team, her sloppy work does make us all look bad. And when her tasks don't get done, I eventually have to do them in order to advance. By the way, the boss even admitted to me one day that they couldn't get rid of her because the law protects her as a new mom. She has also used the "I'm being discriminated against because I'm a mom" card several times at work, despite it not being true, making it clear she wouldn't leave without a fight in case she did get laid off. And she's also a part of the company union, as she likes to remind the boss frequently. I don't really think this is true, but I know my boss is big on avoiding confrontation. She knows this and takes advantage of the situation, treating the boss disrespectfully even, and guilt-tripping people about her mom obligations, and how hard it is to be a mom. I sometimes feel more guilty for not being more compassionate, I guess. With all that's going on, and families struggling to make ends meet, people are usually more sympathetic towards working moms. But it's just hard to do that with her, and she's making my workload heavier and being so incompetent. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to the Impractical Proudness of Parents. I pop number 50. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. And there we are, number 50 already. That seemed fairly quick, didn't it? Okay, this goes up when? Sunday, I think? Yes, Sunday, okay. Well, let's see, that'll be Sunday the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 8th, Sunday the 8th. And, okay. I really do need to start thinking of making preparations for Christmas now, because it's going to be here before we know it. Yep. I mean, Christmas dinner is easy enough to take care of, but it's all the little bits and bobs you like to have in the holiday season to make yourself happy and content. So I'll probably make a list of stuff. Do that this week. Won't be putting my tree up. I don't usually bother with that. Don't really have room for it, to be honest with you. Especially now that I play virtual reality, I don't want to be walking around the room and slam face first into a Christmas tree. That wouldn't be fun. Okay, with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.